The Pittsburgh Steelers are still technically looking for a quarterback, but we all probably know who it is as of this recording of this video. But how will that impact their 2025 NFL draft? My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we've got another 3-round mock draft for you here coming up for the Steelers. Before we get into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button, tackle that bell, and leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you think of this mock, and tackle that bell to get notified when videos come out. Ryan, let's pull up the Steelers mock draft here. So as I said,
Let's do it.
there's really only one kind of major QB that I can think of off the top of my head, and there's really kind of one team that's still kind of in that search for a quarterback. And I'm not talking about the Cleveland Browns because they have their quarterback. He just sucks, and they're paying him a lot of money. Pittsburgh Steelers, I think as of right now, let me just confirm this here. Really have Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson on the roster as of right now, and Aaron Rodgers is still available. It's being reported that it is very likely that these two sides are going to come together. I'm not sure what's waiting for them. Maybe they're trying to debate an extra year on the contract for Aaron Rodgers, but we'll kind of wait and see. That being said, though, I will say if Rodgers does go there, I like that option. Actually, I know it's he's a controversial figure, I would say, in today's football world, but you go look at his stats last year. I do still think he has some game left in him, and what that would bring to the Steelers and how they want to play football. So with that, on the first round, maybe they go a running back here. We'll address that here with the next pick. I think Omari and Hampton would be great, but in this mock, we ended up going with Derrick Harmon, really beefing up the trenches on the interior, on the defensive side of the ball. And I really like what this player has done throughout his college career. A lot of pressures, a lot of hurries in 2024, especially too with Oregon's first time in the Big Ten as well. Ryan, what do you think of Derrick Harmon and what he would bring to this defense?
Yeah, so I really like this pick. Who is
Cameron Hayward.
Cameron Hayward. I kind of want to say Cameron Sutton, but I know that's the corner. Cam Hayward is getting older, and so I think you go and you get a guy for Keanu Benton to kind of grow next to, and I think you also put a disruptive defensive tackle like that in between TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. I think that's just a recipe for success. And so I like the fit a lot. He was a really good run defender in 2023. Then he lost some weight. Wasn't as good of a run defender in 2024, but he was a much better pass rusher from that defensive tackle spot. So definitely a guy that I think you can move around the defensive line. I do think that this is also a potential quarterback landing spot. So Shadur Sanders went about 5 picks after this to the Los Angeles Rams. That is an interesting situation, I think, with him and just where his draft stock is, because I realistically, like, I could see the Browns just throwing the pick in for him at 2, the Giants at 3. I could also see situations where maybe they make a move up and trade for him at the back of the first round. And I could see the Steelers taking him. Another guy that I think has started to rise up some draft boards is Jackson Dart. Tyler Shuck amongst the draft community is another guy who is getting some top of the second round buzz. So I think it's a really interesting situation right now, what's going on with these quarterbacks. And I don't know where exactly they're going to fall, but I think that's a situation for Steelers fans to keep their eye on. You mentioned Omari and Hampton. I think that's another one that would be a really interesting pick. Najee Harris did go to the Chargers in for agency, so Steelers did it with Le'Veon Bell to Najee Harris, and now they could do it from Najee Harris to Omari and Hampton. So I think it's a really interesting draft, and the Steelers are in a really interesting spot heading into this draft. This is also, they no longer have a second-round pick. This has kind of become a sneaky trade back spot now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good final point too. Is with their second round pick, which I think is honestly great value, getting DK Metcalf there, and so. But to your point, if they want to get some more draft capital, trade back a little bit. There's going to be a lot of players I think that are going to fall that teams in the late first round, even early second round, would trade up to go and get, because this is where I think there's a lot of guys I could see teams falling in love with. Maybe they're not as great as some guys that might go 30 or 40 picks later, but if there are scouts who think like, hey, this guy's going to fit great within our system, we need to go get this guy, I could see some moves being made. And so, speaking of the running back position, though, as you talked about, Najee Harris isn't on the team as of right now. Not as of right now. Well, he's not on the team anymore contractually. And so Jaylen Warren is the starting running back as of right now. They have signed Kenneth Gainwell as to a free agency contract. But here, I think with their third round pick, they get Dylan Sampson, running back out of Tennessee as well. It was interesting kind of doing the like free agency review and kind of like some mock drafts as well, is seeing the Steelers' tendencies when it comes to how they've handled running backs over the past really 20 years. Running backs haven't really gone, I don't think they've re signed too many running backs past their rookie contract. Jalen Warren, like, wasn't even a rookie that was drafted by them. He was an undrafted free agent as well. So typically, running backs that they have drafted, they have moved on from, and so this is going to be a year I think they're going to spend a top pick on a running back. And so they don't do Amari Hampton in the first round. I bet they do a running back here in the third round and get Dylan Sampson, a really solid running back out of Tennessee. I think that would come in and provide great value.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a fantastic running back. He's very explosive. They did a really good job in Tennessee of kind of spreading out defenses, and then he was able to run and utilize his speed to kind of separate. So I think in you look at what Pittsburgh has now with DK Metcalf, George Pickens, those are down the field winners. Going to be a lot of too high safeties in shell coverage, not a lot of loaded boxes. And so I think that would be a situation where you bring a guy like Dylan Sampson in with his home run speed and home run abilities. I think that is a situation where he could find a lot of success. This is also a
Exactly.
really deep running back class. If they want to go with like an Emory Jones and strengthen up that offensive line, Chris Paul, Noah Williams, get a linebacker on that second level, or maybe like another corner to go opposite of Joey Porter Jr. I think those are both good options as well. And then you can wait until day 3 to get another to get a running back like an Ollie Gordon, a Devin Neal, one of those guys. So DJ
Yeah.
Giddens. So there are so many options in the running back class this year, and I mean I expect the Steelers to take at least one. So
Yeah, well, and I think that's what's interesting too. Like, kind of when I look at this roster, they've invested a lot of young picks overall over the past couple of years when it comes to this offensive line, and they've had some pretty good success, I would say, like still improving overall. So maybe they do go offensive line, still just get some more talent, but I think that might be something they would wait to spend a day 3 pick on. I think if they do address the defensive interior, which they did lose guys like Larry Ogunjobi as well in free agency, bring some more competition in there, and then get that running back position, then they would have addressed, I would say, some of their 3 biggest needs
yeah,
overall is like they would have signed a quarterback free agent, which has not happened as of the recording of this video on Wednesday night, March 26th. But they would have gotten a really solid player to help rebuild that defensive interior. They would have gotten another star wideout, which is what they desperately needed, and then another playmaker out of the backfield. And if you look at that offense and then you put Aaron Rodgers in the middle, you can make an argument that Pat Fryermuth is the best tight end he's ever had. I would definitely entertain an argument that George Pickens and DK Metcalf maybe is probably on par with like what he had last year with Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. Maybe a little worse overall, but I'd be curious to hear what the arguments are, just with like where Devontae Adams was at his stage of his career. But then defensively, though, with the way the Steelers play football and Mike Tomlin as a head coach, I would I would really be optimistic on the Steelers' chances next year, as Rodgers would be the best quarterback that the Steelers would have since Ben Roethlisberger, which I
yeah,
think he retired. He's coming up on Hall of Fame eligibility, and
yeah.
so I think he retired in
Well,
what
The
2000,
Kenny Pickett draft was 22. So
and he retired right before. So 21 would have been his last year. So I think
yeah.
he's got one more year until
I think
he's eligible.
is it 5 years? So it might be
It's
2.
5 years.
Yeah.
So oh yeah, I guess through the 2026 season. So,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, 3 or 4 years, and it's shown how poorly this Steelers offense has fallen at when you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still think it's impressive that they keep making the playoffs. I know Steelers fans get mad that they keep just getting to 9-8 or 10-7, and then they just are in this cycle of mediocrity.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think it just shows that Mike Tomlin is a really good head coach. These guys come out, they try hard, they compete, and they game plan well. So I'm looking forward to the Steelers season. I'm really curious to see how this quarterback situation pans out. One, in free agency for them, and then two, also in the draft. Do they take a swing on Jackson Dart, or does Shadur Sanders fall to them all the way to 21? Or like, do they trade back and then take a guy at the top of the second? I think it's a really interesting situation, and the Steelers are one of the teams that have one of the more intriguing storylines coming into April and draft season. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of the Steelers 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And on that, we'll see you guys next time.